The Far Cry games are one of gaming's biggest franchises, and feature some of the most iconic gaming antagonists from the likes of Vaas from Far Cry 3 and Pagan Min from Far Cry 4. If you're a fan of the series, then you know how popular games like Far Cry 3, 4, and 5 have been. But did you know that Far Cry 1 is actually available on the PS3 and features a Platinum trophy? Well, if you didn't, then today's your lucky day, as in this video, I'm going to be platinuming the first Far Cry game, Far Cry 1. Far Cry 1 originally released for the PC in 2004, and re-released 10 years later in 2014 as a remastered version for the Xbox 360 and PS3 called Far Cry Classic. And I actually still have a copy of the original PC version from 2004. I actually played Far Cry 1 for the first time a couple of years ago on the PC, and I remember it being very difficult, so I'm curious to see how the remastered version shapes up. So, without further ado, let's get into one of the only Far Cry 1 Platinum videos on YouTube. After starting a new campaign and selecting hard difficulty, as I would need to finish the game on hard in order to get a trophy, and yes, there's a way to beat the game on easy and still get the trophy, but I wanted a challenge. Nonetheless, the game started, and during the opening cutscene, that looks like it was straight out of the 90s, we learned that Far Cry 1 follows a man named Jack Carver and Valerie Constantine, who were on their way to a set of islands when their boat was destroyed by mercenaries. Now that Valerie and Jack had been separated, Jack had to find his way back to Valerie, whilst fighting through numerous different types of enemies. The opening cutscene sets the scene for the very first mission, creatively called Training. So, you guessed it, in this mission, I learned how to play the game. After learning how to walk, crouch, and prone, we are introduced to one of the game's main antagonists named Crow, and we eavesdrop on a conversation between him and one of his men. After sneaking past, we open a door to a room with a radio, where we meet a man named Doyle, an undercover CIA agent working as a scientist on the island to uncover what sort of work is going on there. Doyle would be Jack's main contact throughout the game, as he would help Jack in attempting to find Valerie. From here, Doyle tells me that Valerie is being held at a carrier across the island, but on my way, there are many camps filled with mercenaries. So, after leaving the bunker, I encounter my first group of enemies who I swiftly proceed to eliminate. Soon after, I find some binoculars atop of a hill and spot more enemies at another camp. Here I attempt to be stealthy, but obviously wasn't doing a good job as I was quickly spotted and had to go loud. So, after taking everyone out, I got in a car where I could attempt to get my first trophy called Uneven Terrain for running over 5 enemies while driving a vehicle.
Okay. Here? Yes. The Japanese Navy leased one of their light carriers on this island during World War II. So mercenaries have committed it
I'm
into a
stuck.
helicopter refueling station.
This whole deal is so
The car is stuck.
You don't know.
Bad news.
Just be careful.
That's 1. 2. 3. 3. Anyone else? I need 2 more. 4 or 5 right here. Is that both of them? That was 5. There we go. Uneven terrain. It's getting active. What is this, Dead Rising? Next, I made my way to the carrier, where I swam past a couple of guards on lookout, where then the mission ended. Here, I got 2 trophies. One called Hurt, who me, for completing a level with full health and armor, and Re-enlisted for completing the training mission. That's good. Nice.
Damn it! I'm sealed in.
Make your way to the top of the carrier. You should be able to procure a boat from the upper deck. While you're in the
Re-enlisted.
carrier, see if you can...
Now that I was on the carrier, I now had to find Valerie. So, after fighting my way through the first few levels of the ship, I came across a cabin in which I heard a radio conversation between Crow and another mercenary, where they had mentioned that Valerie had been moved to a place called the Bunker. Doyle told me that he knew where that was and that I would need a boat to get there. So, after killing some enemies on the flight deck, I got into a boat and headed toward an island called Kabitu, where the second mission ended. Mission 3, Fort, started with me now on the island of Kabitu, with the task of disabling the communication system on the island so that the mercenaries would be focused on that, which would then give me time to find Valerie. So, after killing some mercs on the beach, I reached another bunker, or fort, where I could attempt to get the next trophy called Spec Ops Training for not dying while Doyle hacked the entry gates. So, like I did a lot of the time in my Call of Duty Classic playthrough, I cheesed the game by hiding instead of engaging with enemies. So, after hiding in a tunnel behind some barrels for a few minutes, I got the trophy. There we go. That should give me the trophy. I'm gonna wait for it though. There we go, Spec Ops Training. That's a gold trophy too. Next, I entered the comms center, where I found a commander talking to a man named Dr. Krager. Here, Krager reveals that he has test subjects who demonstrate superhuman qualities. After killing the commander, I placed some explosives on a generator and raced for the exit before it exploded. This set the scene for the next mission, called Pier. After blowing up the comm center, Doyle told me that I needed to meet him at the pier on the other side of the island, but first I needed to get some trophies. This level would be a big one for trophies, as I could potentially get 4 of the 22 I needed for the platinum. The first one I went for was called Long Distance Correspondence, which was to get a headshot kill from 500 meters. So, after spotting a pair of enemies from across the island, I got the headshot and secured the trophy. One more bullet left. Yes! That was 500 meters. Long Distance Correspondent. Next trophy I went for was called Flight Simulation, which required me to fall over 150 meters and survive. So I grabbed onto a glider, went up a bit, and fell into the ocean. Let's see. Is it a fall?
The communication network is down.
That's 150. Oh my. No chance I would have survived that in real life. Oh no. Flight Simulation. After, I reloaded a save and attempted to get the next trophy called Oceanic Vista, which required me to score 1 kill from a land, maritime, and aerial vehicle. This one was a bit tricky, as I would have to attempt to not die while on the glider whilst attempting to get a kill, then quickly kill the enemies on a boat, get on the boat, kill some more enemies on land, then find a car and kill someone with the car. And this definitely took some trial and error. No! What is this? What is that? But after getting the glider and boat kill, it was pretty easy to find a vehicle and then get the final kill. Does that count? Please count. Yes! That one was kind of tough. After this, I arrived at a pier where I cleared out the enemies and finally met Doyle face to face.
You must be Jack.
How did you know that?
I've been expecting you. They've moved the girl. Get in.
Offline interaction.
Get under.
The next mission, called Research, started after Doyle dropped me off on another island where he said that he'd be unable to drop me off near Valerie due to the enemy's radar detection system. This mission featured another tricky trophy called Ninja Jack, where I had to collect the keycard without alerting anyone. So I had to go stealthy. Going stealthy on this game is honestly not a rational decision, especially on hard, because no matter what you do, enemies can still spot you from any distance, which then causes you to go loud, so this trophy was obviously going to be a challenge. Of course, this took a ton of trial and error.
You hear something? Get him! Keep him up!
Nothing. Oh my god, I made it. Oh, he's coming. No need. No need.
Over there! See that? Over there!
But after a while, I finally had a good run and got the trophy. This is hard. It's a hard one. This guy didn't spot me, however, which is good.
You hear that?
There's no way you saw me. Zero chance.
Whatever.
I did it! Pop, please. Yes! Ninja Jack. That took a couple tries. It wasn't insanely difficult. It was hard, but it didn't take that long. After getting the keycard, I raced past the enemies guarding a cave, where I then killed a few enemies inside the cave, turned on a regulator, took an elevator to the top of the cave, and got introduced to the creatures known as Trigens. Lion? Nope, I remember these. In the next mission, called Treehouse, I got a closer look at these creatures, as they began attacking the mercenaries. Unlike the other missions, I had to be especially careful in this level, as if I wanted to get a trophy at the end, I would have to complete the mission without dying. So, after crossing a few bridges and making my way to the treetop research facility, Doyle tells me that the lead scientist of the facility has sent a call out for help. But when I got there, it was too late as the Trigens had already torn him apart. Here, I picked up his keycard that would allow me to pass through some of the secured areas throughout the mission. Next, I made my way to a fortress, but after getting there, I needed a way in. So I headed to a castle nearby, got an explosive, and picked off some enemies from across the other side. Here I also had a close encounter where I nearly died, but fortunately my reflexes were too strong and I was able to kill my attacker. After killing a few more mercenaries, I blew up the wall and entered the compound. I do it! I did it! That was stress. I did not die. Thank you. In the zoo. Oh my god. The next mission, called Bunker, would allow me to learn more about the Trigens, as I came across an operating room and holding pens. After coming across some Trigens in a cage next to some mercenaries, I unlocked the cages and got the trophy Bonding Experiences for making the mercs and the caged Trigens mingle with each other. So I had to release them from their cages. There we go, Bonding Experiences. After getting past a few more Trigens, I made my way to the top of the bunker, where Valerie was getting ready to be transported by a helicopter. But, just as it was taking off, I grabbed the wheel of the helicopter and got on before it was too late. Yes, I know, super realistic. Be surprised. I should not be surprised.
The pilot's dead. Jump!
Valerie, that was not necessary. She said jump and kicked me in the head. Now, after Valerie and I parted ways yet again, I was now alone, in the dark, on an island filled with Trigens. Before leaving in the opposite direction, Valerie tasked me with destroying the steam regulator on the island. So, after dying a few times to the first Trigens I saw, I made my way to a nearby village where I collected a pair of night vision goggles. From here, I got to the regulator where I found and killed the foreman and stole his blueprints so that I knew how to properly destroy the regulator. After entering the building, the mission ended and I got a trophy. I thought PC was a lot harder, and I don't even think I played on hard. Mean Steam Machine. Now, it was time to destroy the regulator. In order to do this, I would have to create a backflow surge in the steam produced by maximizing its pressure and then reversing the main flow, which would then result in the destruction of the structure that regulates the steam, whatever that means. This was a pretty quick mission, as all I had to do was collect a couple keycards, which would then grant me access to all 3 junctions. After this, I could turn up the steam to maximize the pressure, and make my way to the vent shafts where I could escape. After this, the mission ended. In the cutscene at the end of the mission, we learned that by destroying the regulator, all the Trigens could now escape and roam the island freely. But not only the mutated primates that we were familiar with escaped, but human mutants who could hold guns escaped as well. The next mission, Control, was an especially short one, as all I had to do was make my way through the vents and past the mercenaries who were distracted with fighting the mutants. In this mission, the game introduces you to massive heavy mutants who shoot RPGs at you, but after defeating him and after making my way through the vents and past all the enemies, the 10th mission was complete. The next mission, called Rebellion, is exactly how it sounds. After escaping the building, Doyle tells me that there's an ongoing war between the mutants and the mercenaries, and that I would have to get past all of them in order to meet with Valerie on the other side of the island at the archives. This wasn't too big of a task, as I was able to evade most of the enemies and then take a glider and fly to the front of the bridge at the archives. After getting past the guards here, I entered the archives where the mission ended and I got the trophy. Differing opinions. The next mission, Archive, was one of the tougher levels. After entering, Doyle informs me that Valerie should be somewhere in the building. Soon after, I encounter my first invisible Trigen. I would be seeing a lot of these throughout the remainder of my playthrough. After making my way through the first few floors of the archives, I took an elevator to a lower level where I'm informed that elite troops with body armor had entered the building in an attempt to take down the Trigens. After exiting the elevator, I made my way to a dark warehouse. Here was one of the toughest sections of the game where I kept getting double teamed by the elite troops and quickly dying. Oh. But after staying back and going slow, I was able to take them out and progress. After this, I found myself outside, where I cleared out a few of the elite troops and made my way across a bridge to another warehouse. Instead of fighting all the mutants and elite troops, I ran to the end of the warehouse, where I shot down a crate and made my way through some vents to an elevator, which marked the end of the mission. This elevator took me down to the power cooler section of the archives, where Valerie had supposedly been held up. This part of the archives featured even more chaos, as the elite troops were now in an all-out war with the Trigens. After finding a keycard and finding a security switch to unlock a door, I got in another elevator to take me further down. Here, Doyle advises me that I should flood the facility in order to get to the next section where Valerie was. So, after letting water in, I swam up to a vent shaft and made my way to the room where Valerie was. After reuniting once again, Doyle informs us that his attempted contact with the CIA has failed and suspects that Krager has blocked any external transmissions. Now it was time to take down all of the towers that were blocking the transmission on the nearby island. So, after Doyle dropped me off, I was now in my own boat and had to find explosives and then plant it on the base of each tower. After doing this, Doyle said that the signal was still being jammed somehow. Doyle then notified me that the last jammer was coming from a nearby ship. So, after making my way to the ship and climbing aboard, I planted an explosive on the fuel tank of the ship and exploded it. After this, the ship started to sink, and Crow, the leader of the mercenaries, arrived via helicopter to try and take me out once and for all. This was another boss battle that was kind of tricky. Here, I was able to shoot his helicopter with a couple of rockets while also ducking for cover each time. I repeated this until his helicopter began to eventually fly away and crash into the ocean. After Doyle came to pick me up on his boat, the mission ended. But the game finally showed its age and crashed while the mission was ending. So I had to do the boss battle all over again. This only took a few more tries, so it wasn't too big of a deal. Now that the jammers had been destroyed, Doyle next tasked me with finding intel stored on a device called a PDA in some ancient ruins on the island of Pagao. So, after killing some Trigens, I found an explosive and blew up the entrance to the ruins. After entering, I encountered a ton of Trigens, which made finding the PDA a bit difficult. But after getting past them, I found the PDA sitting next to an explosive. Now, all I needed to do was take the PDA to a mobile uplink where the information from the device could be relayed. Just as I was making my way to the exit, I came across a battle between biohazard mercs and the Trigens. But since I didn't feel as though I was well enough equipped, I ran past the enemies, blew up the rubble, and escaped. Just before the mission ended, Doyle told me that he detected Crow's signal near me. This set up the final boss battle between me and Crow in the next mission, called River. Now that I had the PDA, all I had to do was get to the mobile uplink, which was across the island. So I made my way on a boat through the various rivers on the island, killing all the mercenaries on the shore until I reached a path. This path took me to the uplink where Crow and his group of mercenaries had been waiting for me. This is where my next trophy, called Of Ravens and Crows, could be earned by killing Crow with a headshot. And let me tell you now, this was not pretty. Stop moving, Crow.
What is that? What is that?
I just sold so hard. This is hard, bro. He doesn't stop moving. Yes, that was a headshot. I don't care. I'm waiting for it. I'm gonna wait for it. There we go. Of ravens and crows. Thank God. But after killing Crow, I uploaded the PDA, and then finally, Valerie caught back up with me. The next cutscene also unnecessarily got a bit hot and steamy, if you know what I mean. Give it.
Now that we've got
Oh!
some time to chat, you can fill me in on a few details.
Krieger was a top researcher at the Defense Department.
Is this necessary?
Specialized in genetics, protocols,
Yeah!
and combat enhancement.
The Trigens.
Right.
Where does the CIA fit in?
Following this mission, Doyle tells us that the CIA has assessed the situation and needs us to destroy the main compound before we would be able to leave the island. This set up the next mission, Swamp, where if I would want to get the next trophy, I would have to keep Valerie alive the entire time, and I couldn't even die myself. This would obviously prove to be a challenge, but after killing some mercenaries at a nearby camp and stealing a car to get to the next camp, Valerie and I needed to find a nuke that would allow us to properly blow up the facility. So, after getting past everyone up to this point unscathed, the worst possible thing happened. The game glitched. When I entered the facility, which held the nuke, the game dropped frames and froze. Since it didn't seem like it actually crashed, I quickly pressed the pause button, but after the game unfroze, the game now thought that the pause screen was now the main game screen, so now I was taking damage and shooting with the pause menu visible. This was obviously unplayable, so I quit to the main menu and returned, as I hoped that since that me or Valerie hadn't died, the game would still count it for the trophy. But after making our way to the end, where Valerie jumped aboard a forklift, the mission ended, and I did not receive the trophy. Yes! No! I don't think that was the right one. I'm gonna have to do it again. Unfortunately, I learned that even if you or Valerie didn't die, you still were not able to restart a checkpoint or the trophy would void. So I had to do it all over again, and let me just say, it did not go nearly as smooth as it did the first try. So, after dying over and over and over in the beginning, I finally made it to the first facility where the game crashed again. Please, return. It's not returning, is it? It's frozen. The game broke again. So I had to do this section once again until I finally had a good run. After finishing the mission, I just waited for the trophy. Oh my God, I thought that was it. I'm being shot.
Care of it, Doyle. Talk to you when we get there.
That was horrifying. I thought they were all gone. I was getting a bit scared as the trophy didn't pop until after the next mission started, but nonetheless, I finally got it. Hot zone date. Oh my God. Now it was time for the home stretch of the game. After finding the nuke, Valerie and I made our way to the main compound where we fought off guards until we got to the proper location to blow it up. After getting to the lab, we injected each other with a vaccine in a very unnecessary Lady and the Tramp type of way, and then finally armed the bomb. Here, I had to protect Valerie from waves of mercenaries as she was arming the bomb, but after she was done, we rushed to the exit where it exploded just as we stepped outside. Like in every dramatic action movie or game, it seemed as though we didn't make it, and then we regained consciousness in a helicopter that was being flown by Dr. Krieger and his men. After getting a monologue from Krieger in which he said that his species of creatures was superior to the typical human, that I would have to be an experiment of the survival of the fittest. So he kicked me out of the helicopter with none of my weapons. However, this would be okay as the next trophy required me to get through this entire mission without ever picking up a weapon. This level, called Dam, was the level I remember most while playing on PC, as I remember it was almost nearly impossible on normal difficulty and playing with weapons, so I wasn't looking forward to it at all. But it turned out to be not that bad. After falling to the ground, I quickly jumped off a waterfall while I quickly swam past all of the Trigens. From here, a cutscene occurred where I was put near a crashed helicopter with a minigun. According to the trophy, you can't pick up a weapon, but you can shoot turrets. So, after shooting the turret and killing the swarm of Trojans coming toward me, I made my way up to a set of gates where the soldiers were trying to fight off some heavy Trojans. After getting past them without them seeing me, I found a keycard and headed to Krager's central offices. Here, it got a bit tough as there were only elite soldiers and heavy mutants remaining, so I had to jump out of the way from any RPG fire or stray bullets, but after dying a few times, I slid down a hill where I found some health and body armor and made the final sprint to the offices. After the mission was complete, I waited for the trophy, where it never popped. It turns out that this was one of the buggiest trophies in the game. After doing some research, some people believed you couldn't die, where others believed you couldn't shoot the helicopter's turret, or even simply pick up ammo or health. So, I just decided to try the old Call of Duty strat, where if you die, quickly exit to the home screen. So, after dying quite a bit in my next run, and exiting to the main menu each time, I completed the mission, and the trophy popped.
You see that? Get that guy!
Is he gonna pop this time? We will see. Yes! Got a little nervous there. Wildlife Safari. Okay, so all I had to do was restart the checkpoint from the main menu. But there's no reason it should have been that glitch, because I did it the first time. And I died multiple times, more times on that run than this one, so. Now, it was time for the final level, called Volcano. I also remember this level being quite tough, so again, I was not looking forward to it. That toughness was shown right away, as in order to get to the second section of the level, you had to get past waves of mercs with riot shields and RPGs. So, after dying over and over, I decided to use the RPG for myself and blow everyone up before they could get to me. After this, I entered a room in which Krager was holding Valerie. Here, I learned that Krager had been infected by the mutagen and was in the late stage of the Trigen metamorphosis. He also noticed that I had taken the vaccine and that Valerie and I had been turning green. After our confrontation, we trade some shots where the cutscene ends and the boss fight with Krager begins. This was another tough boss fight, as the elite soldiers would push you if you stayed hidden behind cover, and then Krager would shoot a bunch of grenades which caused me to exit cover and run. So it was a bit tough, and of course I died quite a lot. But I tried out my RPG strat, which helped kill all the mercenaries, and then used a few rockets on Krager, and then rushed him with a shotgun. This was intense, as I didn't have much health nor ammo for the shotgun. After killing Krager, I got the trophy Contained Evolution. Bop him! Bop him! Yes! Yes!
Where's
Krager!
the antidote?
Who infected you?
We entered a toxic area.
Contained Evolution. Krager, you're cooked, buddy.
Beautiful specimen.
Got me fired up, I'm ready. Krager, you're done, buddy. You're done. Oh yeah. No, why'd he close his eyes? He didn't deserve that. During the following cutscene, we get a hologram from Doyle, and it turns out that he had been using me all along, and that he was going to use Krager's mutation as a weapon in order to make profit for himself. So, now it was time to kill Doyle and escape the island once and for all. Since this was the endgame fight, this next section was obviously pretty difficult. Here there were acrobatic mutants who could shoot you from across the map, and a bunch of heavy mutants, but after a few tries I was able to clear all of them out. Next I turned on the power to the elevators and made my way to where Doyle was hiding. Just before getting there, he sent out a group of riot shield and RPG soldiers, and I was killed quite easily. But after resorting to my RPG strategy once again, it proved to be effective, and I finally made it to Doyle. Here, in order to get a trophy, I would have to melee him, so that's what I did. Yes!
No, please, you don't understand. They sent me. They're always watching. You can't change.
Your gun is still firing, buddy. There we go, call drops.
But
After, I got the trophy, and then the endgame cutscene rolled, and I got the platinum. Like, why did he switch up? Did all that work for him just to switch up at the end, and now he's dead. Harbor style, beating the game on hard. And then Unleashed Fury, one more. Paradise Memoirs, the platinum trophy for Far Cry 1. Far Cry 1 was a wild ride, from starting off as your typical island adventure survival game to that of a sci-fi horror game. It was definitely unique for its time. While it was a very strange game, which showed its age through the gameplay and graphics, I had a lot of fun returning to the game and playing through the remastered version on console. The Far Cry series is probably my second favorite game franchise behind Fallout, so I definitely plan on getting each platinum for all of the Far Cry games, with possibly the exception of one due to its ridiculous trophy requirements, Far Cry 2. Nonetheless, I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you did, leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.